Joining me today for this session, which is about build a serverless text-to-speech application with Amazon Polly. My name is Disha Kamra, and I am AWS Solution Architect and Consultant here in Decode Cloud Solution. So as the topics say, we are going to see a lots of hands-on today. In my previous session, I was talking only about the concept that what are the use cases, business cases are there on which the following tool and technology will help you to grow within the organization. But today we are coming up with an hands-on, a complete setup, and this session will be for 1 hour, not just like 45 minutes of session. So be ready, and we are going to move on with the learning on that. So today in this session, I will be covering an overview of Amazon Polly. This is the application, and we are going to discuss the application architecture of building a serverless text-to-speech application, followed by our demonstration. In general, when we talk about speech, it is not easy, to be very frank. You cannot assume that when an application read each letter of the sentence and the output will make sense to you, especially when we talk about the different geographical location where people have a different tone on it based on their country. Like a German person will be speaking to you with the mother tongue coming in that place, following by the French person. So a few common challenges for text to speech application always include that the word which are written in the same way but that are pronounced differently. Like I can say I live in Las Vegas. Comparatively, I can say this presentation broadcast live from the Las Vegas. So both of these make a totally different senses altogether. Okay, so here we are going to talk about Amazon Polly. Now, a very quick question from both of you, the people those who have joined us recently. Do you understand what is Amazon Polly? Simply yes or no will okay to me. Okay, not an issue. Anybody else? Not an issue, dear. Let me cover that for you. So give me a minute. I want to go and get back to my slide here. So when we talk about an Amazon Polly, just give me a minute in here. So Amazon Polly provides a speech functionality that's overcome the challenges which I was talking previously, which allow you to focus on building application that use text to speech instead of addressing the interpretation challenges. So Polyville turns text into lifelike speech. It let you create application that talk naturally, enabling you to build entirely new category of speech enabled product. And you are going to see in upcoming minutes, not in upcoming minutes because the implementation will take, a demonstration will take some time. I will show you how things will be taken care, what are the technology, what are the steps you will be taking care of. And then you will see how Amazon Polly is as an Amazon AI service that is used with the advanced deep learning technology, which will help you to speech the sound that sounds like a human voice only. So when we talk about Amazon Polly, it's currently include dozens of lifelike voices in over 20 languages. You must have heard Alexa in English and in Hindi. So similar way, it has almost 20 different languages. So you can select the ideal voice and build speech enabled application that work in many different countries. In addition, Amazon Poly delivers the fast response time requires to support the real-time interactive dialogues, because remember, if we are talking about, if I'm because the application which I'm going to show you, that will be a very simple application where you are going to copy paste some of the content in there, or kind of a post or a blog in there, and the moment you click on save or move it to one of the location, it will convert the entire text into a human kind of real life, like a kind of a voice in there. So you can cache, you can save the poly audio file for the offline replay and redistribution. In other words, if I say, what you convert and save is yours, and there is no additional text to speech charges which is used to convert that speech. And Poly is easy to use. You simply send the text you want to convert into speech to the Amazon Poly API, and Amazon Poly immediately return the audio stream to your application so that your application can play it directly or store in a standard audio file format such as in MP3. So in this demo, in this session, I will create a basic serverless application that uses Amazon Poly to convert text to speech, and the application has a simple user interface that takes up the text in a many different languages and then convert it into an audio file that you can play from your web browser. So in this demo, we uses a blog post, but you can use any type of text would like to go for. For example, you can use the application to read the receipt while you are preparing a meal or a news article or a book, and while you are driving and riding a bike or doing any of the normal activity. But guys, please note the environment which I'm going to use in here, it will also cost some in there, because since we are going to use a serverless architecture, of course, I'm not blocking any of the infrastructure of my own or being provided by AWS, but in serverless architecture, I'm going to use the Lambda functions, and that may cause some of thing, because while I will be creating the environment and everything, I will be running that application, but later on for on a hour basis, I am supposed to pay. So when you would like to replicate the same kind of a hands-on in your machine after the session, because this will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, which you can see multiple time and follow these steps and everything. But then you have to be double sure about that if you are doing your hands-on, you will be paying some certain amount, some few dollars to Amazon if you keep on running that application on your environment. Okay, I hope that's make more sense to you. Any questions so far? Please let me know. Okay, I take it as a no for now. And let's move on to the next. So guys, I will be showing you an application architecture, these steps which we are going to do in a technical way of. So let's take a look at the application architecture which used to build a serverless application and talk about the basics. I know many of you may not be aware of what is a serverless application. You build a serverless application, which means that you will not need to work with servers. No provisioning, no patching, no scaling. The AWS cloud, or if you talk about it automatically takes care of this, allowing you to focus on your application. So the application which we are going to create will provide two methods. One for sending the information about the new post, which should be converted into MP3 file, and one for retrieving the information about the post, which includes the link of the MP3 file, which I'm going to store under S3 bucket. S3 bucket is one of the Amazon service. And both of these methods are exposed as RESTful web services through Amazon API Gateway. So let's take a look on the our application architecture. So here you will able to see that what I have done, I have divided this architecture into a baseline. The one you are able to see in the red dots 1 to 3, which is for retrieval, and the other one is the from starting in a blue from 1 to 8. These are the steps which we are going to follow for the new post. So let's talk about the new post. When the application send an information about the new post, so what it will do, the information will be received by the RESTful web service exposed by the Amazon API gateway, and this web service is invoked by a static web page which we are going to host under Amazon S3. Amazon S3 is one of the service which is one of the storage service provided by Amazon. Okay, so now API, in the second step, this API gateway triggers an AWS Lambda function, which is for the new post function, which is responsible for initiating the process of generating the MP3 files. And the Lambda function will insert the information about the post into Amazon Dynamodb table, where the information about all the posts are being stored. Okay. Now, to run the entire process, you are going to use the Amazon SNS, which is simple notification service in here. Okay, so we are going to push in here. So this will decouple the process for receiving the information about the new post and starting their audio conversion. Then another Lambda function will be created to convert the audio, and it's subscribed to an SNS topic which will be triggered whenever a new message appears, which means that a new post should be converted into the audio file. And the conversion of the audio Lambda function use Amazon Poly to convert the text into an audio file in a specific language, the same as the language of the text. If I'm typing something or copy pasting something in English, it will convert that in English. Okay, and if I'm typing or moving some text in a different language like German and French, then it will pick up the language accordingly. Now this new MP3 file, which is being created with the help of this Lambda function and Amazon Poly, what we are going to do, the new MP3 file is saved in a dedicated S3 bucket. Now this information, what we are storing in here in S3 bucket, the information about the post is updated in the DynamoDB table, and the URL of the audio file is stored in S3 bucket, saved with the previously stored data. So this is the entire process of how a post being picking up two different Lambda functions, one to pick up the post, then sending it to convert into audio with the help of Poly, and this is going to trigger the entire functionality, and then saving in S3 bucket, and then saving the details under the DynamoDB table. Now let's take a look when the application retrieve the information about the post, how this is taken care of. These are the three simple easy steps in here. So the first, the RESTful web service is deployed using the Amazon API gateway, and the Amazon API gateway exposes the method for retrieving the information about the post. This method, the method which I am talking about in here, this method contains the text of the post and the link to the S3 bucket where the MP3 file has been stored in here. Remember, this is the bucket which we have created earlier. And when the web service is invoked by the static page host on Amazon S3, then the this Amazon API gateway invokes the get Lambda function, which deploy the logic for retrieving the post detail. From where it is going to retrieve? Of course, the details are stored here in it, while the S3 bucket location is stored in the table file, but it's going to pick up the file from here. So the get post Lambda function retrieve the information about the post, which includes the reference to your Amazon S3 bucket from the DynamoDB table, and return the information. So this is the entire architecture of the application, which we are going to see in a while now. So let's start with the demo on the build of serverless text to speech application with the Amazon Poly. And before we start with the demo, let's see what we are able to achieve by the end of this demo. So these are the things which we are going to practically see. So what we are going to do is we are going to create an Amazon, we are going to create a table which will be used to store the entire data. Then we are going to create the Amazon API gateway, RESTful API. We are going to create two different functions, trigger that with the help of API gateway. We are going to connect our functions with one of the function, not both of them, one of the function, because one of the function is getting the help of SNS, which is simple notification service triggering. Okay, and this will be used to create a new post. Okay, and which will be with the help of the Amazon Poly. Then we are going to use the Amazon Poly to synchronize the speech in a variety of languages and voices. So do let me know if you have any follow-up question. Otherwise, we will start with the demonstration. Any questions so far? You can type in your question at our chat window. Okay, I take it as a no. Yes, Piyush, you can do it at a free tier, but there are a few services like I will explain you while I will be showing you a demo. When you are going to create a Lambda function use some throughputs, the IO inputs. Okay, so maybe you know that in the Lambda function you have certain limitation. So if you are running a demo only for half an hour or 45 minutes of, then you may not be charged. But if you are keep on running your application where you have hosted and your Lambda functions are still functional, or you are using them for the longer duration, then you may have to pay it. Okay. So let me show you now. So hope my screen is visible to you, the other screen, the console window, which you are able to see in my screen now. Great. Thanks for the confirmation, Piyush. So let's get started. As I explained you, we will going to start with creating a DynamoDB table. Okay, so I have opened a console window and let's start created with DynamoDB. So since I have been using these for many time, I'm able to see the shortcut in here. I'm going to create a table with the name of, let's make it very simple, with the name of post. And I'm just going to define one partition key. Guys, please remember here we are not going to discuss any of the basics related to databases and what are the Lambda function, how to create it, but I'm showing you the steps to create this application. And when I'm going to post this link on our YouTube channel, under the description, I will share some of the AWS link, which will help you to follow if you want to learn more about it. Okay. So here I'm just going to create a primary ID as an ID, and I will going to use a default setting in here. Okay, so let me create that. Let me click on that. And please know, you might be wondering why Disha is just creating a table with one simple ID. Please note the entire structure of the table will be created at the time of my application populate the data it's in there. That's the beauty of DynamoDB. Okay, which means when I'm going to post some post from my application to Dynamodb table, it of course it will have a status, it will have a text and voice and a URL, the status like why my MP3 file is updating or processing, the text which I have mentioned in my application, the voice which the audio file which is created, and the URL. So you will see in a while when the entire process I will complete. So my table is created. Right now you may not able to see any of the item in here because the table is blank. Okay, so this is one of the table I have created. Now let's create with the Amazon S3 bucket. So what I'm going to do is let me take you back in S3. In the S3 bucket, I'm going to create a blank bucket, which will be named, let me name it, let me create a bucket and let me name it with some audio post. And just because I've been working in many things, so to remind myself, let me name it with today's date. Okay, which is easy to remember. And you will also notice, give me a minute, I will be saving few details in a plain notepad so that later on I will not forget about it. So I'm going to replace with the number. Of course, I will keep it as in by default number, nothing as in like. So I'm not going to change anything, but please remember, I'm not going to block and public access in here. I'm enable it. The reason of enabling it as because I want to leave all the options, the individual option remain will deselected because I want to make this this folder publicly accessed so that my application will not face any issue while posting the file. But please remember, whenever you are working on a production environment, please go the flow with the flow how the solution architect is suggesting you. Right now, I'm just not doing that. I'm just acknowledging, okay, this is fine. I'm just making the disabling and all. And let me create that bucket. Okay. So once this will be created, this is a blank bucket which I have created right now. I have the name holding. Now I'm going to create. Remember, if I take you back in my, give me a minute. In this, what I have done, I have created a table in Amazon DB. I have created a bucket which will be used further for storing. Now I'm going to create an SNS notification in here. Okay. So let me take you back to my console window. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create an SNS topic. So in the architect diagram, you must have noticed the logic of converting a post into an audio file and a split between the AWS Lambda function. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to allow my application to give a call so that user can send a new post to the application immediately, and my DynamoDB item will know later on that what kind of a conversion it is going to hold. And second, the Lambda function will be used, which we have not created yet, which I'm going to create after this, will convert the post into a audio file. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let me go back to my services and let me go to my SNS. Where is my SNS? Here it is under the application integration. And now I'm going to create a topic from my navigation pen. So here I'm going to create a topic. Please ignore this. This is already created in here. So I'm going to create a topic with the name of, let me give a name in here. Let me select the standard, not first in, first out. Again, I'm saying I'm not going to cover any basics related to any of the services. First, let me make a name new post in here, and without doing any changes, further changes in here, I'm going to create a topic in here. Now you will notice there is an ARN published in here. Let me copy this because this is important. I'm going to copy that in here, my notepad file. Okay, so Now this is what I have. Why I need this ARN in later stage? Because in my Lambda function, I'm going to put that topic ARN in the later stage. Now, let's go back to my services and start creating and working on the Lambda function. So under my compute, because this is a serverless architecture feature, I'm going under compute Lambda, and I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to create a new function and let me name it as post reader, because this is going to read a post, a new post. I have to select a runtime environment of Python 3.7, and here let me change the execution role. Guys, please note I have already created a role in here with the name of lab lambda role, which is doing nothing. If I take you into the role and open that in a new window, let it open, then you will see that what kind of a role I have provided. A Lambda execution policy, inline policy. A role has been created, okay, which has a permission boundary. As of now, no, but yes, it has two different tags, which is saying that, okay, this is what I'm creating right now. I'm just creating a permission, providing a Lambda execution policy permission, which is important to run. So going back to my Lambda function, I have under the execution role, I have defined the existing role with the name of that. Let me scroll it down and create a function. Now, once it will be make, you will see that under the code, it has many parameter in here, but under the code, under Lambda function, let me reconfirm open. This is a by default code which is provided by that. I have my own code written, which will be helping me to generate, and I will explain, don't worry, I will explain you the portion of the code which I'm copy pasting in here. So what I have done in here, let me expand that so that you will able to read it. So what I'm doing, if I examine the code in here, I'm going to take two parameter. The parameter one is voice, the other parameter is text. It is going to pick up the voice. As I told you, we have the version of voices up here, which is supported in Amazon Poly. Then the text is the post that we want to convert into the audio file. Then we are going to create a new record into the DynamoDB table with the information like what, the record ID, the text, voice, and the status processing, which is going to convert. Okay, then we are going to publish the information about the new post. Here we are sending a notification of the new post to the SNS, and this will help me to pick up the ID of my DynamoDB item and the post which we have published, and return the ID of the DynamoDB item to the user. This is what this is doing. So let me deploy this. And once this is deployed, you will able to see the changes deploy in a green status, which means the changes has been deployed. Now, let me go to the configuration, because I do not want that every time. You must have seen that under the code, there are certain parameters which we have passed on in here. Okay, so I really want to pass on some of the environment parameter in here. So what I'm going to do under the configuration setting, under this we have something known as environment variable. Now I'm going to make or add two or one environment variable, one as an SNS topic. Remember, we have copy pasted that ARN topic in here. So let me open that, because we have to redirect that from where I really want to invoke that. So this is taken care of. One is this. Other, I need the DynamoDB table, because in the entire code we have not provided any of these two information in the code. Remember, none about any of the DynamoDB table. This is the DB table name in here, and the SNS. These are the two environment variable which I am using in my code. So let me copy this so that I do not do any mistake, and go back to my configuration under the environment variable. Again, I'm going to edit, and add one more environment variable in here. And what is the name of my table? It was simple post. And let me save this. Now under the configuration, in the same configuration tab, we have something known as journal configuration, which means I want to define an update timeout. By default, the timeout is 3 seconds. I want to increase that because my function may take a bit longer time to pass on that information. So let me keep it as a standard of 10 seconds in here and save it. So once this is taken care of, let me go back in here and see where we are. So yes, this is taken care of now. Now my new Lambda function is ready. Now let me do a testing in here. This is saved. This is now updated. All configuration, everything is updated. Let me go to the test tab, and here I'm going to test. Let me name it as with Johanna, which is one of the voice of this. And let me delete this. This is the test code. So I'm passing in, I want to use a voice over of Johanna, and this is one of the testing. So let me do the save changes. Once this is done, and let me do the testing. So this is tested. You may not get our output right now because we are just testing the function whether it is a like kind of a simple testing whether the function is working or not, and it show you that this much of time has been taken by that particular function to execute. So we are successfully done this. Now, what is my next thing? Of course, I have a function which is picking up the post and sending it for the SNS notification. Now I have to create a Lambda function which will convert my post text into a audio with the help of Poly. So let me go back. Let me go back to my functions and let me create one more function, and this time I'm going to name it convert. Let me do that, convert to audio. And same thing, I want to run it at 3.7. Then I'm going to change this for an existing role, the same, just giving the execution property in here. And once it is taken care of, let me copy my code and change it from the default to this one. Now this is a pretty lengthy code, and what we are going to, because I'm using Amazon Poly and then converting, and again I'm going to use some of the environment variable. So let me examine the code and explain you how this function is working. So here what we are going to do is, of course, I'm retrieving an ID from my DynamoDB. Okay, I'm retrieving the ID of DynamoDB, which is post ID, which should be converted into a audio file for the input message, because that DynamoDB table, that particular table, that post ID is holding a text value. Okay, then I'm going to retrieve the item from the DynamoDB. I'm going to retrieve the item from the DynamoDB, what it is passing on. Of course, it is going to pass on the table name which I'm going to pick up from my environment, will pass on the table query and pick up the ID. Then it is going to convert. This is where I'm going to convert the entire text into the audio stream, and then placing my audio MP3 file into an, this is what converting, this is still doing the conversion in here. It is talking to Poly. There I'm invoking a Poly API. You must have seen that what I'm using in here. Okay, the other environment variable, and this is where I'm going to save my file. Okay, and these are the a piece of code. If you are aware of a bit of programming language, especially working with Python, you may able to understand this. So the entire code is converting, retrieving the item from the table, converting the text into the audio stream, placing the audio into MP3 file, and then updating my entire DynamoDB table with the reference of the S3 bucket with the new status. So you will able to understand that here what are the variables, environment variables I'm going to use, the bucket name, the audio, and the other one is my DynamoDB table. Okay, so let me deploy these changes. Let me deploy that and see if my changes are reflected in here. Yes, the changes has been deployed now. Now what I'm going to do is I will go back to my configuration. This is a new function. I have to define my new environment variable. What are the two environment variable I will be adding in here? One, the DB table name. Okay. Let me say DB table name, which is the name is post, and the other one is my bucket name. And the name of my bucket, which I have stored in here, is Go. Okay, so I will say save. So you will see that it will take some time, but now under the journal configuration, because this is the other Lambda function was just sending the code notification to SNS. That's why I put a timer there as in 10 seconds. And while it was taking not more than 2 or 3 seconds, here it will take much time. It may take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or even up to 5 minutes. So I want to increase the timeout as in 5 for a safer side. Give me a minute. 5, and let's, sorry. And let me save this. And here I do have a trigger session, because see, this function will be triggered with the help of SNS. So I have to trigger that. So under the trigger, I have to add a trigger. Let me add a trigger, which will be my SNS. And remember, I have created one with the name of new post. So let me use that to trigger it. So it automatically pick up the ARN and all. And let me add that. Now it's time to test the function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually trigger the new post Lambda function, because I have created two different functions now, and I would like to see how this is functioning. So let me go back to functions. Okay, and I'm going to choose the post reader new post. We'll select the test, and you will see the execution result is showing me a successful return of that. Now under the services, let me go to DynamoDB. Where is my DynamoDB? Let me type in. Yes, here it is. Now inside my table, remember last time when we have created the table, we have only one thing which was showing. Now you will able to see two different records are appearing in here. One is updated and the one is processing. So we have two. Why there are two things entry you are able to see? Because we have run the test twice. Remember previously when we have created our function very first time, and now this is the second execution. Okay, that's why it is showing you there. Now let's go back to our Lambda function, because we have tested only one, which has created the record. Now I will select the convert to audio, and let me go to the monitor tab. Now the monitor charts will show you the function has been invoked in here. You will soon see that. See, it's working, it's going on. You will see the log stream which show you the list that it has been invoked. Okay, right now it is not showing anything because it is still under a progress of. So without wasting a time, let me show you if we have something inside the bucket of S3. So what bucket we have created with the name of audio with some numbers, today dates, and you will able to see that we have this MP3 file available in there. Now, this is what we have done so far. So we have invoked the SNS, we have invoked the convert to audio file, and the MP3 file is available in my S3 bucket now. Now we have to create a get post because this is what we have done. If I take you back into my presentation slide where I was explaining you so what we have done so far, we have completed this process where we have converted the audio, put that in S3 bucket. We have the entries available in my Dynamodb table. Now I have to invoke that. So this portion is still remaining. Okay, so going back in there, let me open my. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more function which will get the post lambda function. Now here what we are going to do, we are going to go back to our lambdas, and here we have to create a new function. Now this time I'm going to create a function with the name of post reader get post. And let me invoke it from Python 3.7 runtime. The execution will be again using the existing role, creating a function. Now this time I have to change the coding. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this code with the following code. And this time the code is very short. The function what we are expecting is to get the post ID. To post ID from this table, of course, I need to define an environment variable. And on the basis of this ID, it will retrieve all the information which include the S3 link to the audio file if that exists and return it. Okay, and to make it more user friendly, what I have done, I have mentioned the post ID with asterisk, which means all the item from the database I want to pick it up. Let me deploy that function. Okay, so changes has been deployed now with the green button. Now go back to the configuration because I need to define an environment variable in here. And let me define an environment variable, the same one, because I am using only one here. What is the name of my table? Post, and save it. Now let me do a testing. I will go back to my test tab. Let me create all post. Let me replace the code post ID as an asterisk, and let's do the testing. We should get a successful message. Okay. Yes, see, it's returning you the text which is available. There are two entries. So we have received two entry. One has the URL. Why this doesn't has any URL? Because we have not created the convert to audio function when at the beginning of the very first time. Now let's do the expose of the Lambda function. Okay, so I'm going to I'm exposing a Lambda function in a REST API. So I need to go to API gateway. Okay. Let me build the REST API. This is the very first API which I'm going to create. So let me do click. This is a new API. So let me name it as a post reader API. This API is for post reader application, and this is regional, and let me create an API. Now, after the API will be created, I will be creating two HTTP method, one to post, other one to get. Now, I will start configuring the post. So how I will do that? Under the resources, we have actions. So I will create a method and will select a post here, and let me select this. So now I have this. I have one post which I'm calling for a Lambda functions, and here I'm going to invoke the post reader new post. And let me save this. So this is how I'm invoking my Lambda function. Okay. And let me do the other thing. Let me invoke the get. Let me go for other create method. Here I'm going to get. So here, which one I'm going to call now? Because the integration type will be different. The integration type is, of course, will remain as an Lambda function, but here I'm going to go for the get post. And let me save this. Okay. Now the last method is to configure the cross origin resource sharing. So what I'm going to do, we have created two methods, one to get, other one is to post. You are able to see there is an integration going on in both sides. Now I'm going to enable the CORS, the CORS, which is cross origin sharing. And here we have to replace this with the existing CORS headers. And let me do that replacement. So here I'm going to pass on the query parameter of post ID, okay, which will provide the information to ID of the post, which we will be returning in there. So this has been enabled. Let me choose the get, and you will able to see that I have the get method defined in here. Now let me choose the method request. Okay, sorry. Let me choose the method request in here, and here you will able to see we have a URL string parameter which we have to. So let me pass on the parameter value as post ID. Okay, because I'm going to pick up the post ID from my table. And once this is done, this is okay. Let me go back. Now I have an integration request. In the integration request, what I am going to select is, let me open it, when there is no template. Okay, so under the, let me expand the mapping template. And here I'm going to select when there is no template defined. So this is one of the recommended. So here I'm going to add mapping template, and let me add the application JSON file and click on OK. Now under the journal template, give me a minute, under the journal template, I'm going to add the post ID parameters. What is the input parameter I looking forward for? Post ID. And let me choose the save. Where is save? Yes, here it is. Now let me deploy this API. The API has been configured for get. Okay, so let me deploy that. So I'm going to define a stage, new stage, and let me give a name as in def. This is a testing which I'm doing, and let me deploy that. So the moment you deploy, you will get an invoke URL. This is the URL of my API gateway. So let me copy that in my window, because now I'm going to create an application where I'm going to invoke this API. Okay. So this is how I have created the REST API. Now let me create a serverless user interface. Now to do so, give me a minute, guys. Yes. To do so, I already have my index HTML, script.js and style.js, which I'm not using in here. But what I'm going to do is, just give me a minute. Let me open my script.js file. Just a minute. Here is my uh, script.js file. Remember the other link which I have saved in here? This is my URL. I just need to copy paste this URL in here. Okay, this is what I have right now. So I'm calling an API endpoint for my function. So let me save this and close this file. Now, what I'm going to do is I have my HTML, index HTML script.js, where I'm calling and invoking an API gateway for my simple web application and some of the style CSS. This is taken care of. So let me go back to my S3 bucket, because now I'm going to remember in my architecture I was showing you that I'm going to create a serverless user interface. So I have 3 of these files. I'm going to create a new bucket where I'm going to deploy that application. So let me do that, and let me put a name as an audio post. Okay. I'm not going to change anything beside I'm making it again as in public. Let me acknowledge that. And let me create the bucket now. Now, once the bucket is created, I will be uploading. Okay, this is something updated. So let me do that. Okay, let me name it something like this. Okay. Okay, so here it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload 3 of my file which I have. So let me add my files. Okay, guys, these are the 3 files I have. Let me upload that. Once this will be uploaded, yes, this is uploaded successfully. Let me go to the permission tab, because I have a public bucket policy in here. So let me edit that. And okay, so let me edit that. Give me a minute. Oh yes, sorry. So let me edit that. And let me put the policy in here. I'm allowing a public access to this. And let me do the save changes. Okay, there is an API response. Okay, sorry, the name is incorrect. The name of my bucket is, what was the name I have given? Audio post. Audio post level 1108. So let me save the changes. Now we are good to go. Okay, save the changes. Let me go to the properties. We have a public access. Let me go to the property. Now let me ignore the AWS trial which I has given in there. Let me quickly check. Okay. Then let me go to the, because I'm going to do a static website hosting. Okay, so let me edit that and let me enable that. So I'm doing a static website hosting now. So what will be my a static page? And here I have this index page, which is my front page. And let me do that. And let me do the save changes. Now I have edit the I have the end URL. Okay, so in the let me copy. Where is my end URL in here? Here it is. So let me do that. Let me open that. And I'm going to share that with you as well so that you can test at your location. Give me a minute. Guys, you can also access this link. So give me a minute. Let me see if I can share my audio with you. This is an example. Example of Amazon Folly. And let me say it. So I have this post ID. I can retrieve that post ID from the search. It should see the audio is available. This is an example of Amazon Polly. I don't know whether you are able to hear the voice or not, but you can do the similar kind of a testing. I have shared the link with you. Are you doing that? We left with only 5 minutes. Yes, Piyush, Omkar, if you can quickly check and give me a confirmation. Hope you are able to access the URL which I have shared in a chat window with you. You can do the testing by yourself. Okay, great. So have you seen the functionality which we have just developed with the help of the various Lambda function and Amazon Polly? Isn't that easy to use? A very quick confirmation. Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful if you are able to. So I'm sorry I'm not able to share my audio with you, but I can copy paste a lot of content in here, like just copy pasting something which I have already written, okay, or been told you. And if I do that, say it, and if I put an asterisk in here and do a search, it will show me all the content which is previously saved or been created. Okay, great. I'm able to see somebody's mentioned hi, hello. Must be Shreyash or so here. If I do that, and beauty of that, I can change the language into a French. Okay, and then click on say it. It will generate a different audio file. See, you will see a different audio file with the different voice, and you can play it, and then the tone will be different. So this is what I really want to show and share my knowledge with you. I hope you like this session. A very quick feedback from all of you if you can. Please share your feedback. Please follow us. Please get in touch with us with the help of our LinkedIn and all channel.